passing successfully a bond option to do a significant amount of road projects in their city. 63rd Street was included in one of their lists, but was not anticipated to be completed this year based on their estimates for project pricing. Their pricing has come in quite favorable, and based on that, they would like to go ahead and proceed with the resurfacing of 63rd Street this year. Unfortunately, we did not receive notice about this until a couple of weeks ago, so we didn't have a lot of lead time. And of course, now we have the weather, which is going to be working against us quickly. So it would be staff's recommendation. That street is in very poor disrepair on our side as well. It's actually in worse side on the Prairie Village half, but our side is also a street that would be slated to be replaced as well. So it would be staff's recommendation to go ahead and proceed forward and provide the city of Prairie Village with a funding commitment to pay for our half of the street. Prairie Village has also agreed, based on the fact that we didn't really have it planned, and they came late to the game, that they would provide us with all of the striping. We wouldn't pay for any portion of that. And while that may sound insignificant, this year that's a pretty big deal. So.
Okay, and our portion of that would be $40,926.50.
Correct.
Okay, do I have questions for Leslie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. Will.
So by your recommendation, you're going against Trans Systems' recommendation?
What is, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Well, according to the road diagram that I think everybody has seen over the years, that section of road from Nall to Roe, it's listed at about 30% of it as needing major rehabilitation.
Which would be a mill and overlay.
Just a mill and, but that's the worst type of.
Reconstruction would be that you're reconstructing all of the curb and gutter and also doing new storm sewer.
Well, is that
Mill and
part,
overlay
that's not
would
part
be
of this.
major rehabilitation.
That's not part of this.
This does not include curb and gutter.
So we're planning on spending money on something that we're going to go ahead and tear up later.
This we wouldn't need to tear up. For pavement life is anywhere between 10 and 20 years, depends on your weather conditions.
But isn't this road as part of the major rehabilitation?
Major rehabilitation is mill and overlay. Reconstruction would mean that you would reconstruct all of your curbs, any storm sewers. You
Well,
would pull out your base, construct
giving-
new base.
They're showing this as a PC
It's right here, I believe.
0 through 20, which is the worst shape. And not just mill and overlay.
If I may, Will, if you bring up a good question, which I'm now wanting to make sure I understand. If red is the worst, how do we know when a red one requires mill and overlay versus reconstruction? Perhaps that's the question in hand here.
Well, part of it, you know, and I think what we also have to be cognizant of is anytime that you do a field survey, they haven't done any sort of test or coring samples. They've done no geological tests. So they really are guessing and making assumptions on what the base composition of that roadway is. Reconstruction would mean that you're installing all new base, that you're doing all new curb, new gutter, new storm sewers. That is not needed at this point on that particular roadway. Staff would recommend to you that you mill and overlay that street. Trans Systems, to answer your I think direct question, Trans Systems is also aware of Prairie Village's recommendation to take this to mill and overlay, and they feel very comfortable with it as well.
But just to clarify Will's point, if I may.
Go knock yourself out.
You're saying red doesn't necessarily mean total reconstruction.
If you can get away with the mill and overlay, then you would be fine. Even if, all that's saying is that your pavement condition is so deteriorated that at that point you may want to consider, if you're going to spend money, completely reconstructing it. What I would tell you is that if you have another city that's telling you that this is the plan of attack that they're going to take on their half, They have committed funds to do it. They can give us a committed price to do it, and we can extend the life of that pavement, because at this point, I don't think we're in a position to reconstruct all of those curbs, gutters, and install new storm sewer there. The $40,000 will get you another decade out of that street, and that's money very well spent.
But I guess I'm still left with the same question I didn't hear the answer to. Does red always mean reconstruction, or does red sometimes mean mill and overlay?
Rehabilitation.
Rehab-
is what the
Says major-
state-
Well, I know it means major rehabilitation. That's a term that's come up with, I'm guessing, how Trans Systems, but as we learned this past year, you have mill and overlay, which is the $8 whatever square foot, and you have total reconstruction, which is a 17. And Will, I think, I can understand why, is assuming that red means always major reconstruction, but you're saying it doesn't necessarily always mean
No,
that?
because you also have to look at value in terms of the entire segment. For example, if you wanted to take a street that you were actually going to do full reconstruction on, the streets that you would focus your efforts for that sort of activity would be where you have entire street segments that are red. That would be the 2 in Countryside. It would not make sense to reconstruct an entire street segment such as 63rd Street when you only have a 1 or 2 block segment that really needs reconstruction. And part of the reason why they use a super paved material, which is what they're recommending versus just a regular asphalt mix, is so that if they have areas where they have an issue with the base, the super pave will help clear some of those issues up. So
what you're saying then is that the section of Nall between 63rd Terrace and 67th Street does not need major reconstruction.
well, when you couple that with the storm sewer work, and then when you add in...
No, you said storm sewers. You said storm sewers were not part of red. Where are storm sewers on this?
That's just the street inventory. We actually have another map that shows our stormwater inventory in terms of condition in the section of stormwater that's in most need of repair, with the exceptions of Millhaven is along that Nall corridor.
That's correct. And so what I would
Well,
suggest to you is...
where is that map then? Is it any storm sewer, is there any storm sewer stuff along the 63rd Street? Certainly, we've got that map somewhere.
Right. I'm trying to think. Martin, do we have that on the X drive?
I'm sure we do. Wait 1 second. I might have them back here.
Because if we're going to have mill and overlay only to do storm sewers, then what's the point in spending the money?
Do we even know if there, I mean, there's not storm sewers underneath every road, is there? Is there even a storm sewer underneath 63rd? We don't know.
I don't know.
Because there may not be any storm sewers there.
Is there a utility line under there?
I
Or,
don't
I mean,
know.
above there right now?
I don't know.
Again, red's the worst. And this would be last.
Okay, so where's 63rd? Point out 63rd. Okay,
Right here.
So no red along
so there's no red.
There's no storm sewers period underneath there, it doesn't look like, unless I'm reading it correct.
There's a legend over here.
Yeah, there's no storm
Stormwater
sewers
system
over
is
here.
blue.
So it probably just runs into the street to that, see where that creek, that open portion of creek right through
Right.
there.
Yeah, because it means very hilly through there, so I'm sure that there's natural gravel.
Yeah.
So we have no storm
Yeah,
sewers
it's
that pairs under 63rd Street.
So even if, if I can, Steve. So even if red means major rehabilitation, a mill and overlay, while it may not, it may change that to a blue line versus a red line, but to your point,
Correct.
$40,000 gets this another decade out of curbs
At least.
and the base and everything else that's there.
And Prairie Village is on board.
Right.
Okay, other questions? Okay, do I have a recommendation, take this to council, to enter into an interlocal agreement with the city of Prairie Village to the tune of $40,000, $926.50?
I'd so recommend.
Okay, Connie? Will? Okay, do you want on the consent? I guess.
No.
Okay, no. Okay, thank you, Ms. Leslie.
Thank you.
Okay,